After putting a lot of time and energy and just absolutely smashing the game to pieces, I'm going to bring you what I believe is probably the optimised build for Stellar Blade in your New Game Plus. If you want to absolutely decimate your foes, have a lot of fun doing it, and being able to kind of button mash a little bit as well, then this is going to be the build for you. Now, as you can see from the video, when you're going straight into your New Game Plus, some of the enemies that before you might have found a little bit tricky, now you can kind of dominate, especially the early game part of it. You hit like a truck, you've got more burst energy, you've got more health. If you haven't, it's because you haven't been picking up the body and the beta cores. If you do need any of them, just a little plug from me, I've got all of them on my channel, so you should be able to find them nice and easy if you need to. Now personally, I would highly recommend trying to pick up as many of these as possible. It's going to make your build stronger, it's going to give you a lot of health, as you can see from our stats here, as well as giving you a lot to work with. You can pull off so many special moves, it makes things absolutely ridiculous, and I'll be going over the most powerful and most fun piece of gear that you should be chucking on your build. The first one, we're going to be going over the Exospines, and because we've got a lot of burst now, you're going to go with the burst trance type Exospine. I've got the Mark II because this was a little bit later on, and this is going to increase your burst energy, it's going to increase your damage, and it's going to mean that you recharge a little bit of that energy whenever you're doing a 4+ combo. So if you can pull off 5, try to do that whenever you can, as long as you're not going to get absolutely massacred in the process, because some of the bosses definitely hit you very, very hard later on in the game. Hand in hand with this, trying to offset a little bit of what I've got going on later, we're going to have protection type Exospine, and the best one you can get again is going to be the Mark II. This is going to mean your damage received is minus by 15%, as well as giving you a nice big chunkier bit of your maximum shield, and if you are struggling or you're kind of low on health, hopefully you'll be able to block, negate a little bit and get some of that back with its third perk. Personally, I found that whenever my shield was depleted on hard mode, I was getting hit really hard, and most times not even to bosses, sometimes just multiple enemies were able to take me down very fast. So this Exospine just helped to well round the build out and allow me to pull off special moves, sometimes as well as when the enemy was going to hit me. Other than this, we're also going to need some nice bits of gear, and I found the best one to work with this is going to be your burst expansion gear. Try to make sure you go into those boss fights really high up with your burst energy and beta energy whenever possible, and you're just going to have a lot of fun with it, because you'll be able to pull off moves left, right and centre and destroy half of their health bar before most times they even know what's hit them. However, you will need some other things to go with this, and I found the burst enhancement gear works absolutely perfect because it's going to up your burst skill attack power. We're going to be putting off a lot of those moves, they do a lot of damage as it is, so why not stack into that as much as we can. Remember, even though I've got Mark II on mine, don't worry if you haven't, I'll put a list underneath them showing you where you can pick these up. Just use the highest of whatever you've got at what point you are actually in the game. Another one we're going to put on is going to be your protection gear. For this one I only had the 2-star at the time, but again, put on whatever you can, and this is just going to help you to mitigate a little bit of damage again. This works hand in hand with the Exospine and can really help you to negate a bit of damage, which we're going to need because we're going to be speccing into something else that many people probably won't like, but I found with the build we've gone with, it works absolutely ideal, and that's going to be the double-edged gear. This now gives you a massive 25% attack power, and the damage taken is unfortunately at 38%. Remember, we've got a lot of offsetting though because we've got damage negation from our spine and other piece of gear, and I found that this can really help to pull the build together to just completely dominate those bosses without them really being able to pull off many attacks or get through all of yours, because you're kind of completely barraging them with damage and just having a ridiculously fun time whilst you do it. Now, if you hate this and you don't want it on, I can completely understand. It worked for me all the way through the game, but some people just may not like it because it does mean you get damaged quite hard. If you want to change it over, put on anything that's going to work into that burst build, so whether it be to enhance a bit more of the damage or whether you get your burst skills back a little bit faster, chuck something on along those lines of gear. Now for my first playthrough I used triplet all the time and loved it. For the second I completely jogged it on and found that this is so much better. An upgraded slash does massive amounts of damage. It's also going to get rid of any kind of mobs or big groups, so it's well worth upgrading. As well as that, don't forget your shockwave, as this is definitely one if not the best skill currently in the game and can really turn the tide to battle. Now over to our burst skills, and I would definitely say the priority would probably be Punishing Edge. This one hits very hard, probably the hardest hitting one for bosses, and it's also able to down enemies as well, so works out absolutely ideal. If you find yourself outnumbered though, Tempest is probably the coolest looking one in the game and also does a lot of damage and enables you to get rid of multiple targets at once, as well as giving you a nice bit of health back if you're able to upgrade it fully. Lastly, although you didn't see me use it in the video, I did like the overdrive. This actually helps you to dwindle down the boss's health drastically, so if you want to put this in some kind of effect you could, depending on what kind of playstyle you're after. I preferred Punishing Edge. Overdrive is actually amazing, especially when you manage to fully upgrade it. Other things I found: whenever you're struggling, try to put a shock grenade or something on the ground. That can really help you out to knock them down and give you a bit of breathing time. And if you want to use things like healing over time items, they can also come in very handy, especially in those tough, long endurance battles. Now that pretty much sums up the build. There's not loads and loads you can do with Stellar Blade, but I found this an absolute blast. And what I'm going to do is put on the boss fight on the hard mode with Raven and just show you what exactly this build's all about. And if you're like me, you don't have to be anywhere near perfect to pull this off, but you're still able to absolutely destroy hard mode and have a blast while you're doing it. Hopefully all you guys and girls enjoyed the video. As always, for all things gaming, take care. I'll see you on the next day.
Manipulated anymore. And the information you've gained is no use to Mother Sphere or the colony. You did it, Eve. Well done. Why are you hesitating? Because we were comrades? Or because I'm human like you? Except you don't believe we're human.
Your mainframe's nerve fibers and exospine have all been severed. So now, you won't be able to